Welcome to this episode of the Harpreet Singh Show. I'm your host Harpreet Singh from Surrey, British Columbia, Canada. In today's program, I'll be taking you over to Thiruvananthapuram, the capital of Kerala in India, and my guest will be Professor Valsun Thampu. He has been an academician, an administrator, the principal of the most prestigious college of India, St. Stephen's College in Delhi, and he's been a radical thinker and also an author. He has written 18 books, and today his book, which is being launched in October, will be talking about that. And the name of the book is Beyond Religion, Imagining a New Humanity. So let's get over to him and start a discussion with him. Professor Valsun, welcome to the program.
Well, greetings to all your viewers throughout Canada and the rest of the world. Greetings from Kerala, which is popularly described as God's own land.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Well, there is so much to talk about you,
Thank you.
but I would like to know from your self as to your contribution. You have been the principal of the most prestigious college of India. What has been your experience working as an academician and an administrator?
When I think of my country, my first thought is that India is a land where the true potential of its people has not been discovered and accentuated yet. And this is largely due to the low priority attached to education. I realized this early in life, and that's by choice. I became a teacher because I was convinced that the most significant contribution a person can make is through education.
Right. Well, I would like to talk on this particular topic because you have so much to tell us about education. But today, would like to focus about your, writing skills, about your thought process, and especially when it comes to religion as such. You have come up with this book, Beyond Religion, Imagining a New Humanity. What are you trying to tell in this? Today, what we are finding out is that religion, which was to unite us, is rather dividing the communities. And more people have died in the name of religion rather than being united. So, can you describe what is the present situation, not only just in India, but all over the world?
Well, it is very obvious to everyone, and it doesn't have to be argued, that all religions, wherever they are practiced, are in stages of advanced decay. The purpose of religion is to ennoble human life, but it ends up corrupting people, making them behave in ways that are scandalizing, all in the name of God. There are many reasons for this, and we can discuss them by and by. Now, very quickly to the reason why I wrote this book. Obviously, my thoughts are formulated from within the Indian context, but surely they have a global resonance and relevance. I believe that humankind being fragmented along religious lines is a serious problem for the well-being of human beings and for the future of humanity. And all religions began with the promise of freedom, but they end up enslaving people in the name of religion. And this process of enslaving people is accomplished largely by separating reason from religion. And when reason is separated from religion, religion becomes the backyard of superstition, obscurantism, which then becomes ideal breeding ground kinds of inhuman practices, including hate and cruelty towards others. So much so, religion, which should have been the light to humankind, begins to become the darkness of mankind. Now, you look at countries where religion is taken seriously, and all studies show that today, countries where religion is not taken seriously at all have people who live happier than in countries where religion is taken seriously. So if you look at religions in terms of the happiness index, there is a cause for worry. So in my line of thought, and this is fairly obvious, the corruption of religion begins, number one, when a priestly class arises within a religion and hijacks all aspects of religion and establish their hegemony on the various pillars of religion, including the scripture, the dogma, the ritual practices, etc., subjugating the believers in the name of God, and thereafter using them as weapons to further their own vested interests.
Right.
The second danger point for religion is when religion gets admixed with politics of the unhealthy kind. Now, like Gandhiji, I too believe that religion and politics need not be separated, provided religion is religion and politics is politics. But when religion and politics enter into an unholy alliance, it becomes a deadly combination which breeds dictatorships and fascist regimes and completely undermines the welfare of the people. These are all huge subjects. I have discussed them in detail in my book, arguing for a shift from religion to spirituality.
Right.
Maybe we could discuss that a little further.
Absolutely, we will discuss in details. But before I go further, can you describe religion as such? Because religion is one issue which today is dividing people, because everybody thinks and believes that their religion is better than others and we are better than others. Whereas if we delve deeply into details of the written text, everywhere it tells us about the universal basic values. So can you please describe religion as such?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Harpreet, for this very, very important question. All religions have two main aspects. One is the ethical core of a religion, which comprises largely universal values and ideals. In the interest of brevity, I may identify these universal values as love, truth, justice, and compassion.
Right.
If you have these four values, all other values are also comprehended in this. Now, there is no religion in the world which does not preach and try to or mandate the nurturing of these four universal values in human beings. That's in theory. I'll come to that again a little later. The other aspect of religion is doctrines, dogmas, rituals, customs, traditions, and superstitions. Now, this is the reason why I refer to the priestly class in religions, because when they arise and attain control, they shift the focus away from the ethical and the universal to the ritualistic and the obscurantist,
Right.
because that's the best strategy for controlling the thinking of the people, subjugating them so that they can be exploited at will. Now, you will never come across a priestly class which is committed to ethical values. Now, I tell you the reason for this. All ethical values, all spiritual ideals are necessarily universal. And this is the essence of the question that you raised.
Right.
Why is it that religion, which is meant to be universal, becomes parochial and then serves as a medium for or a source of fragmenting people? Now, all values are universal. Values are universal because humankind is one family. In Hinduism, for example, there is this idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is the whole universe as one family. But unfortunately, theory goes along one way and actual practice in quite the opposite way.
Right.
And this is largely due to, and I want to emphasize this, people must realize this, this is because of the complete control that people hand over to the priestly class, and they are nurtured in a particular fashion. Their training is in a certain mode. They are never really trained to think universally or rationally. And therefore, today, all lay people who take their religious life seriously must realize that they have come under a serious responsibility to assume responsibility for the health and wholeness of their religious tradition,
Absolutely.
as well as their own individual spiritual sanity.
Right.
We cannot any longer pass on all responsibilities to the priestly class, assuming that they are God's deputies on earth. They are not.
Right.
They're only a class, and all classes have their class interests, and they function only in terms of these class interests.
Absolutely.
So, my book argues for the lay people assuming greater responsibility for the religious welfare of humankind.
Sir, we'll talk in details. It's time for a short break. Let's go for a break. Once we are back, we'll learn
Yeah.
more from you as to why dogmas,
Harmeet,
customs,
yeah.
and doctrines are getting more and more stronger than the universal basic values which every religion talks about.
Yeah.
So we'll talk in details after this short break.
Yeah.
ਕੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਰੀ, ਡੈਲਟਾ, ਰਿਚਮੰਡ, ਐਬਸਫੋਰਡ ਜਾਂ ਵੈਂਕੂਵਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਵਾਂ ਘਰ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਬਾਰੇ ਸੋਚ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਪੁਰਾਣੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਰੈਨੋਵੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ? ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਤਜਰਬੇਕਾਰ ਬਿਲਡਰ, ਇੱਕ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟਿਵ ਇੰਟੀਰੀਅਰ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨਰ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਹੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਗਾਈਡ ਕਰ ਸਕਣ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸੁਪਨੇ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਉਸਾਰ ਸਕਣ। ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਜਾਂ ਸੰਦੀਪ 6048259295 ਉੱਤੇ।
ਪਾਪਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੱਜ ਕਿਉਂ ਉਦਾਸ ਹੋ?
बेटा, तेरे चाचा दी कोरोना वायरस करके डेथ हो गई है क्योंकि उसने मेरे कहने के बावजूद भी टीका नहीं लगवाया।
ਚਾਚਾ ਜੀ ਤਾਂ ਪੜ੍ਹੇ ਲਿਖੇ, ਸਿਹਤਮੰਦ ਅਤੇ ਰੋਜ਼ ਐਕਸਰਸਾਈਜ਼ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਸਨ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਟੀਕਾ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਗਵਾਇਆ?
ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਡਰ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਟੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਮਾੜੇ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਅਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ। ਹਾਲਾਂਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਮਝਾਇਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸਭ ਅਫਵਾਹਾਂ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਇਹ ਟੀਕੇ ਵਿਗਿਆਨਿਕਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਡਾਕਟਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਅਤੇ ਖੋਜ ਦਾ ਨਤੀਜਾ ਹਨ।
ਪਾਪਾ, ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੇ ਮੈਂਬਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਟੀਕਾ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਲਗਵਾ ਲੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸਿੱਖ ਹੈਲਥ ਫਾਊਂਡੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਅਪੀਲ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਵੈਕਸੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਵਾਓ ਅਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਲਦਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਟੀਕਾ ਲਗਵਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੇਰਣਾ ਕਰੋ। ਆਓ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਿੱਖ ਹੈਲਥ ਫਾਊਂਡੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਇਸ ਮੁਹਿੰਮ ਦਾ ਹਿੱਸਾ ਬਣੀਏ।
है जुल्म ढाने का अंदाज भी कितना हंसी, हमारी जान पर बनाई है जब जब उसने अंगड़ाई ली। कभी खामोश रहते हैं, कभी शोर होता है। मोहब्बत में शरारत का मजा कुछ और होता है। दिल को जज्बात का तोहफा, खामोशियों को बात का तोहफा, खूबसूरती में जड़ी नजाकत अदाओं की चांद से मुखड़े को चांद सा तोहफा।
भारत ज्वेलर्स, सच्चे प्यार की चमक जैसा। पाई बिजनेस सेंटर सरी।
Once again, welcome back to the program. This program is being brought to you with the support of Agnihotri Immigration Consulting. Temporary status, PR, you're new to Canada, you're an international student, you want to know about citizenship, you want to hire foreign workers, or you want to know about express entry or want to sponsor parents or grandparents. Neera Agnihotri has been working as a certified immigration consultant since 2006. She'll guide you with honest and reliable information. You can call her at 604-597-2284. 12788 76A Avenue, Surrey. Neera Agnihotri, 604-597-2284. Our next sponsor is AMC Insurance. They have 9 branches in the lower mainland to serve you, and they're open 7 days a week from 8:30 a.m. onwards till 9 p.m. So if you're looking for home, auto, travel, business, life or recreational insurance, they can guide you. For more information, call 604-507-6666. So today my guest is Professor Valsun Thampu, and he's written a book, Beyond Religion, Imagining a New Humanity. In this book, he's talking about various things which need to be understood by us because the situation daily is becoming grave, and we are just becoming pawns in the hands of the priests. What does actually religion teach, and what are we professing? Are we just not getting confined to doctrines and dogmas and superstitions? So why is it that this impact is having a more impact on us rather than we understanding what religion stands for? So Professor Valsun, as you were telling before the break, what are the reasons for this spiritual decay? Why is it that we are handing over our independence to this priestly class?
The main reasons for the decay of religions are 2, and I have mentioned them in this book. The first is that unlike spirituality, religion insists on the saleability of God. God becomes a saleable or sellable commodity. And if a commodity is sellable, it must have agents and middlemen, and they have their interest in promoting the saleable commodity. And in the process of something wholly becoming a merchandise, its character gets distorted. And to the extent that the idea of the divine is distorted, and is mainly distorted in terms of narrow-minded parochial interest, insisting that your God cares only for you, and all the children of all other gods are headed to hell. My religion, Christianity, is the number one offender in this. And all these sort of devious, the hypocritical, utterly dishonest teachings come only when God is turned into a saleable commodity. And this is something that I plead with the global community to realize, that so long as we agree tacitly or otherwise that God can be sold as a commodity and made money out of it, there is no hope for religious reform or any religious tradition improving itself. You cannot today separate the practice of religion from the tinkling of the coins. Of course, in mega terms. That's the first issue. The second issue is that while spirituality is a forward-looking historical force, all religions become backward-looking. The reason for this is, again, as I referred to earlier, due to the regressive influence of the the priestly class, religion is turned into a closed system of thought. That is to say, whatever you need to know was revealed 5,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 500 years ago, whatever, as the case may be. Not a syllable needs to be added, nothing more needs to be known. And if you have any curiosity to know anything beyond, even though you live in a vastly changed world and universe, then that is heresy, and you are really suppressed and heavily punished. Now, this is, to my mind, contrary to the logic of life and nature. Everything in history is going forward. Everything is looking forward. Religion alone makes it a virtue to look backwards. It is as though you should run today the 100 meters dash looking only backwards. Now, I cannot defend this in any whatsoever.
Right, but sir,
and the reason why this dogma.
But sir, don't you think that it is not religion, but it is the interpretation of the verses by the priestly class which is dragging us behind? Because religion, as such, the written texts are probably very versatile, and they teach us to be independent, and there is no middleman in between that. But it's the interpretation. Don't you think that?
Harpreet, I am grateful to you for saying this, because if you really read scriptures of religions, including Guru Granth Sahib, the vision is certainly forward-looking. The scriptures, when they came into being, were revolutionary texts. And today, when we look backwards, we might think that they exist or they existed hundreds or thousands of years ago. But the fact of the matter is that all religious traditions began as the eruption of the new and the unprecedented in terms of the eruption of the spiritual insight, the spiritual ferment, through great luminaries, whether they be Guru Nanak or Jesus Christ or Prophet Muhammad or Lord Buddha or Lord Rama, whoever, Lord Krishna and the teachings in the Gita, they all looked forward. But sadly, strangely, tragically, in their name, using them as excuse, a backward-looking religiosity has been foisted on the people, as you rightly say, through misinterpretation. I would say motivated, deliberate misinterpretation of religious texts. And this is also a reason why I argue that rather than leave the interpretation of scriptural texts to priests, a lay intellectual influence or a lay intellectual class must come up and use their mental training, their critical faculties, their historical research, their capacity for constructive criticism and reappropriate scriptural texts so that these resources become appropriate, forward moving influences rather than backward pulling regressive forces.
Right.
And this is one reason. Now, if you imprison people in the past, then you create separate enclaves for them.
Right.
After all, if you go back, say, even 200 years, people lived isolated from each other. Today, we live in a global community which is connected through technology of communication. But even 100 years ago, one village did not know another. So religions were born at that time, and therefore they were fragmented. That doesn't mean the religions are there to fragment humanity. They are meant to unite humanity, enable them to go forward and discover their shared heritage, which is universal spirituality. And my book is an argument, a plea to all humanity to move in that direction.
Wonderful. But there is one important thing which I would like to know from you. You have a lot of experience. We as human beings consider ourselves to be very knowledgeable and superior to other creatures when it comes to worldly affairs. But when it comes to religion, why is it that we just close our eyes and just bend down to the dictates of the middle class which we have ourselves created?
Well, thank you so much. It's another very searching question, Harpreet. I'm delighted to have this discussion with you. Well, the main reason for this is that religion has been misinterpreted and made equal to blind faith. Now, today when people talk about faith, it is actually blind faith. What is blind faith? Blind faith is what remains when reason and common sense are removed from the understanding and practice of religion. So, reason is a universal force. In fact, it is reason that knits people together in spite of superficial differences and enables them to realize that at the end of the day, we are all members of the same family. We are part of the same species. And therefore, whatever is universal cannot be accommodated within this very narrow framework of dogmatic religiosity. And within this dogmatic religiosity, people are not free to think, discover, and decide for themselves. Harpreet, I would like to emphasize one thing, and that is, on the one hand, in the name of religion, we clamor for freedom for religion or freedom of religion. On the other hand, freedom is the last thing available to you within the religious communities.
Absolutely. I
can say this to you as a Christian priest. Let me say this to you. And I was a global preacher. I was a globetrotter, truly. There was a period in my life when I would return to Delhi twice a week just to change my bag. There was a kind of hectic global assignment I had. But when I was moving on all these networks, I was never free. I had to say what the establishment could tolerate.
Absolutely.
And therefore, religion has excommunicated human freedom. And this has been achieved largely by discrediting reason, because reason is the main force for human liberation. You see, Descartes said, I think, therefore I am. I would say, I am free because I think.
Absolutely.
And who is a slave? Plato's, Aristotle's classic definition of a slave is one who thinks for himself, and therefore one for whom all decisions have to be taken by an alien will, a will other than his own. And that is the state to which people are reduced in the name of God and religion.
That's very true. And then the fear of God that is thrust in the minds of the people, that is another major factor. Sir, it's time for a break. Let's go for a break. We'll be back. And in the last segment, I would again like to focus on your book, which is being released in the first week of October. So we'll talk a little bit more about the book and also the solutions you would like to offer. Because today we are at a, at a place where everything is just going topsy-turvy. So what all we need to do and how we need to take the reins back, we'll talk all about this after this short break.
As an entrepreneur, I value the freedom to run my business and to grow my company.
As a mother, I want Canada to be a country for my children's future where they can grow and have success.
The Conservative Party understands that. They understand the numbers and budgeting and all that, and that's the party that lines up with my values as an entrepreneur.
ਕੁਦਰਤ ਦੇ ਸੌਮਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਆਯੁਰਵੇਦਾ ਰਾਹੀਂ 5000 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਬਣਾਏ ਗਏ ਹੈਲਥ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅਪਰੂਵਡ 100% ਸ਼ੁੱਧ ਆਯੁਰਵੈਦਿਕ ਡਾਇਟਰੀ ਸਪਲੀਮੈਂਟਸ ਦਾ ਲਾਭ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਸਟ੍ਰੈਸ, ਐਂਗਜ਼ਾਇਟੀ, ਇਨਸੋਮਨੀਆ, ਬਲੱਡ ਸ਼ੂਗਰ, ਕਿਡਨੀ, ਬਲੈਡਰ, ਹਾਜ਼ਮਾ, ਆਈਸਾਈਟ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਦਾ ਆਰਗੈਨਿਕ ਇਲਾਜ, ਜੋੜਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਦਰਦਾਂ ਤੇ ਸਰੀਰਕ ਮਸਾਜ ਲਈ ਕਈ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੇ ਆਯੁਰਵੈਦਿਕ ਤੇਲ ਵੀ ਉਪਲਬਧ ਹਨ। ਹੋਲਸੇਲ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਲਈ ਕਾਲ 604 628 2003।
ਘਰ ਇੱਕ ਐਸੀ ਥਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਹਰ ਕੋਈ ਆਪਣੀ ਨਿੱਜੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਸੁਨਹਿਰੀ ਪਲ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖਦਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਉਹ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਰਿਆ ਜੀਵਨ ਬਤੀਤ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਪੂਰੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਦ ਕਿਸੇ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਨੂੰ ਸਜੇ ਹੋਏ ਘਰ 'ਚ ਬਦਲਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ। ਨਵੇਂ ਘਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫਰੇਮਿੰਗ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਫਿਨਿਸ਼ਿੰਗ ਤੱਕ, ਡ੍ਰੇਪਰੀ, ਪੇਂਟਿੰਗਸ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਡੈਕੋਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਅਸੈਸਰੀਜ਼ ਤੱਕ, ਤੁਸੀਂ SK ਹੋਮ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨਸ ਦੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸੁਪਨਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਹਕੀਕਤ 'ਚ ਬਦਲ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਕੰਟੈਕਟ ਕਰੋ ਸੰਦੀਪ ਕੌਰ 6048259295।
Once again, welcome back. Our guest today is Professor Valsun Thampu. Beyond Religion, Imagining a New Humanity is his new book, which is coming out in October. And in this book, he's talked about various issues that need to be understood by us. We'll shortly get him back, but before that, this program has been brought to you with the support of Day-to-Day Wholesale Cash and Carry. This is British Columbia's largest South Asian grocery store, where you can buy groceries, party-wear, kitchenware, homeware at wholesale prices. More than 5,000 products are displayed on the shelves. For best prices, unique grocery buying experience and high quality products, come to 7843 128th Street, Surrey, 604-503-8787. Our next sponsor is Best Home Kitchen Cabinets. ਘਰ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਾਨ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਚਨ ਤੇ ਕਿਚਨ ਨੂੰ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਬੈਸਟ ਹੋਮ ਕਿਚਨ ਕੈਬਨਿਟਸ ਲੋਰ ਮੇਨਲੈਂਡ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਜਾਣੀ ਪਛਾਣੀ ਕੰਪਨੀ ਹਨ। ਕਸਟਮ ਹਾਈ ਐਂਡ ਘਰਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਮਲਟੀ ਯੂਨਿਟ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟਸ ਇਹ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਹਰ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਕੈਬਨਿਟ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਬੈਸਟ ਹੋਮ ਕਿਚਨ ਕੈਬਨਿਟਸ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ। ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਸੁਰਜੀਤ ਢੇਸੀ 604-591-8171. So Professor Valsun, before the break, what we were talking about was that how we are becoming pawns in the hands of the priestly class. But then again, if we read the religious texts, there has been a deep connection between religion and politics. And even in Sikhism also, it is said that religion and politics go side by side. But it's always that religion principles are guiding politics. But today it's happening the opposite way. Politics is becoming heavier and everything is being used for their own ends. So it's happening everywhere you see this. Have you talked about this in your book?
Yes, I have dealt with it in some detail. Now, this is a very important issue. Take the symbol of Sikhism, for example, the two swords. One sword stands for purity, and the other sword stands for power. And this is the ideal relationship between religion and politics. The role of religion is to be a sword of purity in the domain of power. And to me, this is a very inspiring vision. But the question remains, if the leaders of the Sikh community today, if the active members of the Sikh community, the lay intellectuals within the Christian community are aware of this or are willing to stand by it. We can have high ideals, but what are they worth if they are not implemented in practice? So certainly my book argues for a re-examination of the problematic relationship between religion and politics.
Right.
And I've also argued that the meeting point between religion and politics must be understood as the welfare of the people, maximization of the welfare of the people, which is possible only if peace is promoted universally. Today, look at the resources that are being wasted in the interest of war and warmongering. If 25% of that is invested into human development, we can eradicate poverty from the face of the earth.
Absolutely.
That is the function. That is the function of religion in politics, to serve as a conscience keeper of the political elite.
But today, if somebody talks about reason in religion, he's considered to be an outsider and he's declared to be a tankhaya, even whether it is Sikhism or a kafir, as the Muslims say about it. You talked about two
today-
basic facts: the saleability
Yeah.
of God and also the backward-looking nature of religion, which is being propagated. That don't ask questions, just believe, and that is the faith. Doesn't need science to be there. So when all this is being brought forward, and especially in India, where we see that religion is easily, or I would say, the priestly caste sells religion and makes a fool of the people, and people are ready to become those kind of subservient followers.
Yeah.
Which way are we heading towards?
Yeah. Well, we are heading towards the desecration of the human, undoubtedly. My simple diagnosis is, if at all it is possible to separate money from religion, people say politics must be separated from religion. That's wrong. What needs to be separated from religion is money. The entire edifice of religion is scaffolded in money. It is not God who is worshipped for God's sake, it is money.
Right.
God is a mere alibi for amassing wealth. Make religion unprofitable, will cleanse it altogether. And this is the reason why the vow of poverty has been prescribed in almost all religions. I mean, can you imagine Guru Nanak living in luxury? Can you imagine Jesus Christ, who said, the foxes have their holes, the birds there have their nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head.
Right.
That's the degree of his poverty. Can you imagine a Jesus Christ who lives in affluence? So, in the name of these wonderful, inspiring spiritual luminaries, religious establishments have been erected as super bazaars for religious wares aimed merely at extorting money from the people, making them believe that it is for some kind of a presumptive gain for them that they are being bled and depleted in this manner.
Right. When you talk about secularism as such, in India, secularism is under threat. What are you foreseeing with the democracy and religious thought taking over? And this will lead to chaos, which we are already seeing in India, not just in India, but otherwise in other parts of the world too. What do you have to say about that, sir?
Well, in America, what about America? It's the same.
Yeah.
Now, this is the heart of my argument. You have now touched the heart of my argument. I want to say with all the force I can muster that the Indian idea of secularism is unsustainable and it is dishonest. Why? Because equal distance from all religion or equal proximity to all religions is bunkum. It cannot be practiced. It can be practiced if you are a saint. If 136 crores Indians are all uniformly saints, it can be practiced. Harpreet, the most fundamental thing about human nature is selfishness, is partiality. For example, you sit and watch a football match between Brazil and say Argentina. Now you are from neither Argentina nor Brazil. You have no access to grind. But if you instinctively identify yourself with one team, you hoot for them, you clap for them, you shout for them. Now that is because this is the dynamic of human nature. You need to be partial. So being impartial to religions is the most exalted level of human spiritual evolution. We have not even made a start in that direction. And then to say that secularism can be practiced as equal proximity or equal distance to all religions is utter dishonesty.
Right.
My argument is that if secularism is to survive, it can survive in the Euro-American model, which is a separation between religion and state. After all, the modern state has emerged by emancipating itself from the tutelage to religion.
Right.
Up until the Enlightenment, governments were under the domination of religion. It's only when politics or of the state overthrew the yoke or the domination of religion, did the Western societies begin to progress. So it is an imperative today that the Western idea, imperative for India, the Western idea of secularism is reappropriated, which is possible only if Indians as a whole are willing to look at evidence objectively. But unfortunately, the greatest and the most orchestrated national effort is to cripple thinking and to make everyone parrot the same line. And therefore, there is a great cause for worry. This is precisely the situation that paves the way to fascism.
Right.
Those of us who have read the run-up to Hitler's rise to power in Germany in the early decades of the last century have great reasons to worry.
Well, this is a very important
issue. And my book also addresses this reality.
Right. This is a very important issue, sir, and I would like to address this in a separate interview with you. But before I let you go, Swami Agnivesh also has written in this book. Could you tell what he has written in the foreword?
Well, Swamiji could not write anything because by the time the writing of this book began, he was admitted to the hospital. But he is the reason why the book exists at all, because the very day he was admitted to the hospital, he rang me up and said that, probably he had a premonition that the end was near, though he died about a month later. He rang me up and said that the one thing that he would like most to happen is the initiation of a debate, national and global, on religion, its relevance or otherwise, and the need to create a new awareness about rediscovering the shared home of universal spirituality.
Right.
And out of my profound love and respect for him, I launched into that book like one possessed. And I kept writing chapters after chapters. Each chapter was sent to him, and he read those chapters from his bed in the hospital and got back to me with his comments. So his contribution was mainly in that form. But also, over the last quarter century, Swami Agnivesh and I have been in a continuing dialogue on the nature of religion, nature of spirituality, and the kind of shift that needs to happen, the reform that is required, and the way India is going. All these things, the contents of the book were discussed by us over a long period of time. Therefore, we have grown up together in relation to the substance of this book.
Right. So there'll be a lot of things which one will be able to take out from this book after anyone reads that. But if there is one thing which you would like to tell us today in the end as to what can one learn from all what is happening around us, what would that be?
Well, strangely enough, my message to the whole humankind is be selfish. Be selfish. Be selfish. You will ask me why. Because religions have enslaved people by preaching false idealism to them, telling them that it is a good thing to die for the sake of religion. But no religious leader does it. They all profit from it. It's the gullible believer who makes a confounded ass of himself. He must cherish his life as the absolute value. It cannot be corrupted, it should not be risked, it should not be compromised.
Right.
So this is what I call inspired selfishness. And I have no hesitation to say that that's a divine mandate. Love yourself. Love yourself. You cannot love God, you cannot love any human being if you don't love yourself. If you love yourself, you will not allow your mind, your soul, your spirit, your heart to be polluted with hatred, with negativity, with venom, with poison, and allow yourself to be used as a weapon in communal conflicts and atrocities on others. So this is my appeal to humanity globally. Be selfish. Love yourself.
Right.
Do not cast away your life, your soul, like a worthless trifle.
Right. Professor Valsun Thampu, it was a pleasure talking to you. These are very profound statements, and we hope that these statements have an impact on all the people who are watching this program all over the world. And of course, once your book gets launched in October, it will be a pleasure to go through that. And where will this book be available?
It's being published from the UK, and I'll let you know.
Okay.
You see, because of COVID, some of the processes related to publishing gets stuck here and there. But I'll certainly let you know when the book is out.
Wonderful.
The publisher assures me that it'll be out in October. Harpreet, I must say that I've greatly enjoyed this interaction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Valsun Thampu. It was a pleasure and honor to have you on the show. Thanks once again, and we hope to get back to you soon with some other topic of interaction and interest to all the people. Thank you very much. So एस एंड प्रोफैसर वैल्सन थैम्पू जिन्होंने आज साडे नाल गलबात कीती ते दस्सिया कि किहड़ी ਇਹ किताब जो इन्होंने लिखी है कि इस किताब का मकसद है कि किस तरीके नाल सियासत ਅਤੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਸਟੀ ਕਲਾਸ जो है ਭਾਰੂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤੇ ਧਰਮ ਦਾ ਜੋ ਸਹੀ ਮਕਸਦ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਲ ਵੈਲਿਊ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੰਬਾਈਬ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਹਟ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਭ ਦਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ਼ਾਮਲ ਹੋਣ ਲਈ। ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਸਾਥ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਮੰਡੇ ਟੂ ਫਰਾਈਡੇ ਸ਼ਾਮ ਦੇ 6 ਵਜੇ ਪੈਸੀਫਿਕ ਸਟੈਂਡਰਡ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਿਕ। If you also want to be a part of this program, you can contact me at 604-603-7555 or you can email me at harpreetsingshow@gmail.com. Thank you for sparing your valuable time and being a part of this program. And if you are liking these programs, we would seek your support. Please subscribe to youtube.com/harpreetsingshow, or you can also watch us at facebook.com/harpreetsingshow. Thank you very much. Have a safe evening, stay healthy and enjoy yourself. ਵੈਨ ਕਾਸਾ ਟਾਈਲ ਅਤੇ ਸਟੋਨ ਸ਼ੋਰੂਮ ਇੱਕ ਐਸੀ ਥਾਂ ਹੈ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੋਲਸੇਲ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀਆਂ ਟਾਈਲਸ, ਸਟੋਨ, ਮਾਰਬਲ, ਬੈਕਸਪਲੈਸ਼, ਮੋਜ਼ੇਕ ਆਦਿ ਵਾਜਬ ਕੀਮਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਮਿਲ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਟਾਲੀਅਨ, ਸਪੈਨਿਸ਼, ਚਾਈਨੀਜ਼ ਪੋਰਸਲਨ ਜਾਂ ਸਿਰੈਮਿਕ ਟਾਈਲਸ ਜਾਂ ਮਾਰਬਲ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਆਰਡਰ ਤੇ ਜਾਂ ਕਲੀਅਰੈਂਸ ਤੇ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਮਾਲਕ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਟ ਟਾਈਲਸ ਇੰਪੋਰਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ, ਜਿਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਕੁਆਲਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਨ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਘਰ ਦਾ ਸ਼ਿੰਗਾਰ ਬਣਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟ ਕਰੋ 13042 84 ਐਵਨਿਊ ਸਰੀ। ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਹਿੰਦੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ 604 330 7363 604 330 7363।